Good Monday, everybody! Doubleheader tonight. And guess what? We have a special guest, Eddie Prather. We're going to get to him in a moment. Eddie's been one of our big top people in the chat room, and now he's made his way on the air, and he's going to contribute in both areas, right, Eddie? And he's able to come on to the chat room. He livens things up, and now he gets an opportunity with Steve and I to come on and put his face behind the camera and do what he does best, talk what he normally writes. Glad to have back on, Ed.
Thanks for having me back on for the second time.
Oh, no, it's okay. We're glad to have you. Steven, you ready for some real football and a little bit of payback? Because you're going to get some payback tonight, man, after the way you laughed at me last week with that Lions and the Ravens game. Oh, paybacks are, what, but he'll stand there and take his. When I get done with this Lions and the Ravens, I'm going to go ahead and carve Steven up like anybody would carve a pumpkin up on Halloween. Oh, I don't know how bad it'll be. But folks, if you didn't watch last week's show, I brought the Lions and the Ravens up. Steven looked at me like I was some cotton picking idiot in and out. And I'm sure by the time he watched the end of that show, he knew what was going to happen tonight. That'll be later. So meanwhile, glad to have you guys both on tonight. And let's get this bad boy going. Now, Steven, always wondered about this, and I'm going to bring it up from the get-go. Ricky Watters, one of two players in NFL history who ran for 1,000 yards with three different teams. Willis McGahee is the other, and seven. He also had 7 1,000-yard rushing seasons. First, Steven, you're going to comment on this. I know you also have something in the works with Ricky Watters. You can, if you want to provide us with an update, this is the opportunity to do so. Go ahead, Steven.
Well, yeah, I mean, listen, it's one of the reasons why he was on the nomination list for Hall of Fame this year.
Right.
Obviously won a Super Bowl there with Steve Young and those 94 49ers beating the Chargers, and wound up coming here to Philadelphia, won over not only the Philadelphia fans but the media itself. Obviously he had the rocky start the first game with Tampa Bay with Randall Cunningham, but he was solid in his time there. Always could he had 1,000 yards each of the years he was here. He was great out of the backfield. He was a newer version of Roger Craig, if you ask me. I think he was a little bit better of a runner, or Roger was a little bit better of a receiver. As far as the update for the interview we did, back in June with Ricky, the episode should be airing December 10th at 6 p.m. right here on the South Florida Tribune Media Network. So, me and Ben were able to kind of get, I think it was like 40 plus minutes out of him. We were only supposed to have him for 25. So, lucked out with that. But yeah, it was fun catching up with him. And, I hope, he's one of the finalists, if not the Hall of Famer this year. I think he's one of these guys that, I say it all the time. The Hall of Fame list has a logjam of players that should be in for whatever reason. We always get these classes that only have like two or three or four guys. I think at this point in time, you can have a class that has 6 guys in each time going in, regardless if we're talking baseball, or football at this point in time.
Well, there's no question the Pro Football Hall of Fame is not an easy class to get into.
Yes,
I'm glad
sir.
you brought up the Roger Craig reference, and we both know that he had good careers with the San Francisco 49ers and the Philadelphia Eagles. Great stuff. And obviously, you're ready to get in front of this thing and promote it later in the year in December. Just wanted to give everybody a heads up what they have to look forward to. And there was no better opportunity, nor timing for that matter, that he is obviously nominated for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And I wanted to talk about his accomplishments. When you have a guy that can do both like he did at the 1,000-yard rushing, this guy's old school. I'll turn it over to Eddie. Go ahead, Eddie.
I absolutely love watching Ricky Watters play. Like you said, he was to me, he was a better version than what Roger Craig was. Better athlete than Roger Craig was. To me, I know the Hall of Fame should be something special for special players. And to me, Ricky Watters was that one of those special players that could do everything well. Can't be the guys like him and Thurman Thomas, or the type of then Tomlinson after them.
Well,
So
yeah, no, I agree with you. Go ahead, keep going.
if he does, I don't. I'm not sure if he's going to make it in on this vote, but I think he will get into the NFL Hall of Fame eventually.
Yeah, I
Like you
agree.
said,
I think he's one of these guys they can't keep him out for long. It's just a matter of some of these other guys that are getting in. Some of these other places that have these guys that are definite guys. It's kind of up to the writers for at this point in time how many get in. Like I still think another running back here in Philadelphia made the list in LaShawn McCoy. I think of both him and Ricky in that same ilk. I think Ricky was another guy. I felt Ricky was the better receiver out of the back, even though LaShawn was more dynamic. He was here in Philadelphia longer. Obviously Chip Kelly put an end to that, but yeah, I think Ricky's great. What he's doing now. He still does a lot of appearances. I think he's doing a Bishop McDevitt reunion up in upstate PA here in about a month or so, I believe. So he's always doing stuff in the community. When we had him on, it was right after his book launch. So a lot of stuff's going on with Ricky, and love to see him engaging with everyone on social media as well.
Well, Ricky Waters defines what smash mouth football is, because this guy was a heck of a runner. He really is. And I'm glad you brought up the Chip Kelly reference. Both of you guys make excellent references with Sean McCoy. We'll keep it going. So, with that said, this is one of the most interesting stories I've seen. And it's actually going to make the Wednesday Sports Exchange because it's that good. I want more people to get eyes on it. But we're going to start with it tonight. Get this. Ryan Fitzpatrick worked at Wendy's. And he worked at Wendy's for 2 weeks before he was reportedly fired. Ryan allegedly gave a bun without a burger in it and complained to the manager about it. And as a result, he got let go over that. People, this guy went out there and got fired because he didn't go ahead and he let the management know, we gave him a bun without a burger. This is not a carb show, people. But Fitz went on to Harvard and became one of the greatest seventh rounders ever. How unbelievable is this? He gets fired from Wendy's, and guess what? He's on Amazon showing his wares and had a great football career in the NFL. Steven, does it get any more far-fetched than this?
I mean, I guess it's life. We a lot of these. I think we all get caught up in the professional athlete. We superstar him, Superman, whatever. But definitely a cool story from Ryan's past. Everyone worked. Had a first job somewhere. So it's funny that he got fired when he was working. One of his first jobs.
So George Eichhorn out of Facebook. Glad to see you participating. We appreciate it very much. He'll be on later on 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. You can find our shows on Facebook. And George, just so you know, it's also on YouTube, but you can watch it in its entirety there. Just giving you a refresher course on how to find us. Okay, Eddie Prather, go ahead and give us your thoughts about Ryan Fitzpatrick. Not good in the fast food business, but boy, I'll tell you one thing, he's pretty good on the gridiron.
I didn't even know about this story. I thought Ryan had a job on TV. Was it Monday Night Football halftime? Well, who is he working with? Or what? No, Amazon. No.
Yeah, for Amazon Prime.
Yeah. So I guess Ryan, you're not the first one to be let go at the fast food. You won't be the last.
But I'll tell you the irony between the Harvard connection and Amazon and what he did on the ball field is just too surreal. And it was worth mentioning. All right, Steven, I know this pains you, but let's give a recap of the Detroit Lions versus Baltimore Ravens Monday night game. Motown 38-30 over Crab City. My God, Steven, take your punishment. What were your thoughts
Hey,
of
listen,
that
I
football
thought,
game?
it's not an easy thing to go on the road early in the season, go in someone's house
Right.
and steal their lunch money, and that's exactly what the Detroit Lions did to the Baltimore Ravens, and even more so, they got a similar beating this Sunday from the Kansas City Chiefs. But
Right. Yeah, they did.
so listen, the Eagles and Bills are the last undefeated teams right now, so we'll see which team winds up taking their first loss over this next month or so, because it's the NFL. Eventually, you're going to have a bad day, get caught by somebody, underestimate somebody. But going back to that, just didn't see Detroit going in there doing that. They handle business, and if we were talking about it beginning of the year that it's a Super Bowl or bust for Baltimore this year. I think you might see a Harbaugh lose his job this offseason.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, in fact, let me just take this Detroit thing just a step further. Last week, I found out that all the ESPN analysts picked Baltimore, so don't feel too bad, Stephen. They all got it wrong. They did. And they were heavy underdogs going into the game, considering the fact that all they did was beat Chicago and they laid an egg and were flat against Green Bay. But everyone on the ESPN analysts got it wrong. They went with Baltimore.
No, if you think about it now, after that loss and then the loss, they're 1-3 right now. We were just talking about it last week about 0-2 being rough. 0-3 ain't 1-3 is not a good start for the Ravens. I still think you're gonna have opportunities there, but you're not going to be handed that. Like I said, Pittsburgh's 3-1 right now. So
Right.
unless the wheels completely fall off, and I'm not sitting there saying that Aaron Rodgers is getting his second juice, but I already said it. I felt with the improvements they made on defense, especially on the back end. Guys like Slay, guys like Jalen Ramsey, that they're going to be competing in January. That is for sure. So the fact that Baltimore is now 1-3, maybe they're one of the teams that are on the outside looking in. Obviously, the Bengals have to hold it together this season enough to be able to compete. We were just talking about how crazy it is in Cleveland right now. Obviously, they had a big win last week, but they got thoroughly thumped by your Detroit Lions this week. So
Yeah. It'll definitely be interesting to see how it plays out. Yeah, Jalen Ramsey, things are going well for him. Darius Slay obviously is doing well in his new fresh start. All right, Eddie.
You haven't heard Micah Fitzpatrick's name out there. He's not getting burnt and beat up. So it's like, listen, they have a really good secondary with Cam and TJ on that front end. I'm telling you, if the Ravens keep playing around, they're going to find themselves on the outside looking in, even to try to get a wild card spot.
All right, Eddie.
Just absolute. Baltimore is in trouble. I had concerns about their defense after week 1 and week 2. Giving up 17 points to Cleveland, horrible offense is like giving up 30-something points to a good team.
Right.
I think right now the Ravens this is not your Ray Lewis, Ed Reed Baltimore defense anymore. They're in major trouble. I think anybody, even with the Steelers' lack of a running game, I think the Steelers will be able to even run the ball on that Ravens defense. And Detroit, I think week 1 was just one of those early week 1 games where Detroit just wasn't fully prepared for Green Bay.
Okay.
I think we're seeing the real Detroit Lions the last couple of weeks.
Well, keep in mind what the Detroit Lions were doing during the preseason. They were playing their backup quarterbacks to find out who they could have behind Goff, so I'll give them that much. Hendon Hooker didn't make the team, and Kyle Allen did, and I believe they added Bethard, so I think they added him too. So they were trying to get some insurance for Jared Goff. Great points. One more topic before we go to the station break. Weight issues are problematic for defensive tackle Jalen Carter, who was actually called out by his defensive coordinator, Vic Fangio, round into better shape. Carter 24 took some plays off against the Kansas City Chiefs, including one where Patrick Mahomes broke free for a big run up the middle. Steven, what's going on with this guy?
Well, I mean, I don't think it's really mattered at this point in time because Jordan Davis is kind of looking like that first round draft pick that you drafted at. Obviously, with the big block like last week, and Jalen and Jordan, had a blocker earlier in that quarter as well. So I think they're still performing. He even yesterday had a shoulder injury that he's been dealing with that he played through last week. I think it's safe to say we're not seeing that 2024 Jalen Carter this season. But when you have a guy stepping up, like a Mojo, like Jordan Davis, that he's lucky he has guys to lean on, but that's not something you want to see out of a guy that is trying to be, the next Aaron Donald. Everyone keeps telling him he's the heir apparent, and I think it's a phrase that Nick Sirianni, smell the perfume but don't drink it. Well, I think he may have been drinking it a little bit this offseason and may have not come in as shape as he wanted to. Jordan Davis lost 30 pounds this past offseason, and you can see it through the first 4 games. He's been the best interior defensive lineman for the Philadelphia Eagles. We haven't started to see that Jalen Carter. He may be out of shape. I'm not one of the coaches. I'm not on the field. We're not in the locker room, so we can't tell you that. I'll tell you this: he needs to stop with the immature antics. Getting another fine this past week for taunting the Rams after that first block. So he's got some things he has to clean up, both mentally and physically. But I mean, I still think he's one of your top 5 interior defensive linemen in the NFL, regardless if he's out of shape or not. He demands the double team. He winds up having to deal with center and guard on 90% of the snaps he takes. So he'll get there. It's this is somebody we're going to see perform. We've seen what he did during the playoffs last year during the Super Bowl. He's he gets that interior rip pressure like Reggie White used to. He has that type of dominance in him. And some of the things that were being said this offseason is once he doesn't even really know how to play the position like the way it needs to be played yet. He's still a young kid. He still has a lot to learn. So I'm not surprised, but it's one of those things where he's in a place where he's going to be held accountable to be able to continue to be one of those new young voices on that Eagles defense.
Eddie?
I love Jalen Carter at his talent and stuff. The reason why he dropped in the draft wasn't because of his lack of talent, was because of the antics that he pulled at Georgia. He should have been, talent-wise, he should have been a top 3 pick a couple years ago in his draft class. Jalen, you're good, you're talented, but please stop being a knucklehead. I thought he had outgrown his antics that he was doing at Georgia, because we never heard of the first couple years in the NFL. But Jalen, listen to your coaches, listen to your veteran teammates. You're talented. You have the talent to probably be easily the best defensive tackle in the game. Just don't let knucklehead things get in the way.
I still think that's why they signed a guy like Zaire Smith to get some of that veteran leadership back into that locker room. So,
Well, bottom line is this. Nick Fangio didn't work out with Miami Dolphins. How'd that work out for the Fish? How's it done with Philadelphia Eagles? Need I say more? Fangio has that thing called a ring.
I mean, if you think about it, you take the two big strikes away from last week, or from this past week with the Buccaneers. They basically put the clamp down on the last two teams they played on. I still think the Rams offense has been very underrated the last few years. It's Matthew Stafford's the consummate professional. So, but I think Vic Fangio is doing a great job. Starting the season 4-0 with overcoming all of the stuff that they've been overcoming. Then yeah, I love what they're doing right now.
And tomorrow's edition, by the way, thanks for mentioning that, Stephen. Inside the pick, somebody talking about the Tampa Philadelphia game as well. That's some interesting facts I want to point out.
Listen, they're going to start banning shuttle passes if they keep this up. Listen, it's we see. I think it's funny when we talk about that game. Obviously, it's determining who's one of the better teams in the NFC. So, already beating the Rams and Tampa Bay, who both look like pretty good teams right now. A big win for the Rams. Beating the Colts, battle the undefeated out there in LA. So it says a lot. This is going to be a fun year. Both with what you're seeing going on in Philadelphia. Obviously we were told that they could very well start 1-3. Well, 4-0 for the returning Super Bowl champions is not bad, especially when you got 2 games against the Giants this month. So you could very, very well, be 6-7 wins at the end of this month, which is right where a lot of teams want to be, especially if they're trying to be jockeying for the position to be one of the top 3 seeds. So
great points. More on the Eagles tomorrow. All right, Eddie.
Boy, that Rams, like you said, the Rams have been underrated the last few years. I think they really upgraded at receiver, getting Devontae Adams in place of Cooper Kupp, who has dipped on productivity the last couple of years. The only concern about the Rams is Stafford going to be able to stay healthy through the whole year. But I think there's 4 teams in the NFC that's going to be a fun team to watch. Any of these 4 teams can make it to the Super Bowl. The Eagles, of course, they're Detroit, Tampa Bay, and the Rams.
Good stuff.
No love for the 49ers. I mean, obviously, I don't got love for the 49ers.
No,
but
rest in peace to Nick Bosa's knee.
That is funny. Yeah, well,
yeah, but if they get Kittle back and they can still play tough defense, they're still 3-1 right now. They're at the top of that division just with the Rams. So
yeah, but
if they can overcome their early injuries, I don't know if we're gonna get Bosa back, but the fact that they made it through a slight turf toe issue, but with Purdy, regardless of anything, when he was healthy last year, he had them going in the right direction, despite not even early on. They're starting 3-1, better than Debo out there in Washington, being 2-2, missing their starting quarterback. So, I mean, they've gotten 2 losses since Jaden went down. That's all I have to say about it. So listen.
I have some concerns. Those 3 wins. I have some concerns about during those 3 wins, struggling against teams that like the Aints. Sorry, but
and the Cardinals.
Well, can we agree that Nick Bosa is definitely the Niners' best player on their roster?
I'd make a case.
No, I still think it's Kittle.
I would add the word one of Eddie, and then you can put both of them in.
He's their best player on defense, without a doubt.
Yeah.
That you can't even blink without saying that. So, I mean, they're going to miss him regardless. But he's still an edge rusher. you can find guys to get pressure on the quarterback off the edge.
All right, great point. Let's go to a station break, Candy Abling. And by the way, more to come.
South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by your host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. Talks about his 40-plus years in the industry and how it has evolved and changed. Get your copy today. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there is a plethora of great content, so go check it out. If you see that red subscribe button in that lower right-hand corner, click it, like us, share us, and then turn on that notification button so you get notified every time we go live. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcast. If you want to advertise or sponsor a show, you can call Scott 954-304-4941. And if you want to be a guest or have topic ideas, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Back to this great program, guys.
All right, Candy, thank you very much. Glad that you guys are doing part of it. Scott Morganroth, Motor City Manmouth. People joined by Stephen Reichel and Eddie Prather tonight on Monday night, first of a doubleheader. So let's continue on. By the way, kudos to the Jacksonville Jaguars. They walked into San Francisco and pulled out a good win for them. We'll see what happens, see how the Jags plays out. We'll be talking about that tonight. The only boxing topic of the night is a pretty good one, actually. Max Kellerman is going to host a weekly boxing show for Ring Magazine. This is the type of show that boxing has always needed and never had. I like this idea because, number one, Max is overmatched with Stephen A. Smith on First Take. I know that Stephen A. Smith ran Rush out over him, but Max is good at boxing. He really, really is. So this is exactly what they need. And Stephen, I don't think you can find a better person than to have a type of show.
I mean, I definitely could find a better person than Max.
Who?
John Anik, Mauro Ranallo. I could find a lot of people better. I don't know if you've seen the Alvarez Crawford play-by-play. If you didn't, go back and watch that and watch John Anik run circles around him and Andre Ward on that announce table. So what I do like about the show is the other people he has included into it. He's LaShawn McCoy is actually going to be a part of that program. So I think that being able to bring somebody like LaShawn in, obviously Max would be the senior guy talking about combat sports in that situation, which somewhere where he would thrive. But I wouldn't be surprised to see LaShawn McCoy after a period of time being able to do the research that he does, because we know that LaShawn does good journalistic media stuff since he's been an on-air personality. So I think that's going to be a fun element of that. Obviously, Max has the plethora of announcing that he's been doing, especially in the combat sports world. I'm not sitting there saying, he's the worst or he's terrible, but there's a lot of times where you do see guys that he favors more, and you can hear it in his commentary. I think that's probably the biggest thing with Max. And it's hard. Like when you've been following guys for so long and been seeing them, you've been watching an athlete since they were in their amateur days. You've been calling their fights, etc. So you watch them grow to a point. So yes, sometimes you do have a biased commentary. I think that's one of the reasons why I love Joe Rogan so much in that commentary role that Max typically finds himself in, is because even when it is somebody he's close with and friends with, you can hear that he gives a fair commentary. So it's like I think it's going to be a great program, the ring program. But you need something like that for the boxing world specifically, something to get us away from the king of exhibitions, Mr. Jake Paul. I think having somebody like Max, having a program like that should be fun, because the other thing is, like, when you look at that world, you occasionally get fighters on Joe Rogan podcast. Other than that, the only big podcast in that combat sports realm is Ariel Helwani. Ariel does a great job as well. So it's going to be fun to see a new program, especially with a former NFL player like LaShawn.
Well, one thing I'll say this before I turn over to you, Eddie, is this. I've seen Max perform in different roles, and I have to admit, I didn't think he was that great in many of them. But when it comes to boxing, his boxing savvy and expertise is pretty good. I'm glad that he landed in a sport that he's best suited for, and I'll leave it at. Are there better people out there, Steven? You already mentioned, no doubt about it. But I think this is a
I
good
think I
spot for
mentioned
Max.
all the ones that could potentially do it, but like you said, like we were just talking about, having that boxing specific type of program like that,
Right.
especially with the level of production you're going to get, um, I think it's not bad having another option out there.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. All right, Eddie.
Um, it's hard not to think of anyone better than Killerman for the specific role for
Right.
boxing. Max did learn from one of the greatest boxing commentators back in his younger days, a guy named Larry Merchant. Uh,
Yeah,
I
he's
I,
good.
I still can't believe that he's been Max has been doing boxing for. To me, I have always respect Max for his boxing knowledge.
Right.
Maybe not for the knowledge of other sports, like when he was
Right.
on like First Take, but boxing wise, that's where he is his strong point. If it was if it was like a not just a boxing show, but other combat sports, I think I would go at Joe Rogan's probably the best for overall for combat sports.
I think Ariel has the better, just specific like combat sports platform, just because he is arguably the best combat sports journalist that there is out there, without a doubt. You could say what you want about how he handles things, him getting on people's nerves. When you see Ariel, both do his podcast and out there doing media, he doesn't just ask the softball question. He's asking the hard questions, not just to the fighters, but to the promoters themselves. He tries to hold them accountable, which is why he hasn't been at a UFC event in almost 10 years now. So, um, I still think he's the better when we're just talking about combat sports. Joe has gone beyond just having the fighters on. He talks to everybody now. That's changed a lot over the last few years. What the Joe Rogan Experience podcast is, also being on Sirius Radio, where he can bring in a lot of these bigger guests. Obviously everyone's loved when he had The Rock on. He's had all these big athletes on there, and obviously even more recently, with some of the politicians he had on too. So he's kind of involved more. But I think when we're talking about just straight journalistic, ability in these type of programs, I think Ariel Hawani has to be the one.
There you go.
Yeah,
That's good. I love the debate there, but what I like more is that you brought up Larry Merchant. He's a guy to me was unbelievable. I saw his great work on HBO.
I
Go
think
ahead.
he's been the voice of boxing the last 30 years. No one could say any different.
I agree. Eddie, you last word. Close up topic.
I'm not as familiar with Ariel, so that's why I can't really put him ahead of.
All right, Eddie.
But
I'm sure you'll figure it out one of these days. And
yeah,
we all have our own flavors when it comes to how we consume the media and who we listen to and what voices. I barely listen to the local sports media guys, just because sometimes it's too much.
Well,
yeah,
one thing about this show, Professor and people, I really enjoy about it, is we do have a chance to go ahead and talk about boxing, is what we do. And this is the only show on our network for which we do it, mainly because of Steve's expertise in the combat sports and boxing area. And it's a sport that I can tell you right now, I've had pictures of Muhammad Ali, Sugar Ray Leonard, Chuck Wepner, and the list goes on and on. So with that said, we'll continue the narrative. Let's go back to Derrick Henry. His rushing yards in high school versus the NFL career. These are pretty good numbers. In high school, in 4 seasons, he amassed 12,124, and in the NFL, 10 seasons, 11,592. What have you done lately? Well, guess what? 3 fumbles in 3 straight games. They were tentative about using him, Steven, yesterday. Let's talk about the trials and tribulations of Derrick Henry.
I remember this Hall of Fame running back from the New York Giants that he was having a case of the fumbles, or when he got to a point in his career and literally had to change where he was holding the ball. And even remember, you know, Tiki Barber's, one of the best running backs of better running backs, more versatile running back of the 2000. And for people who don't remember, he used to have a problem until he changed things up a little bit. Maybe there's something Derek can do better holding the ball when he gets into these traffic situations, because he's never really been a guy who fumbles a lot. So it's like surprising to see him go through this. Um, we were talking about it last Wednesday when, obviously he was very upset with himself, what he felt like costing the team the game. He consummate professional as putting that on his shoulders, but it's very surprising to see that Baltimore would actually be gun shy with using him. I get it when a guy's going through a funk, you don't want to call his name every time, but the only way you're going to get him out of that funk, especially if he's a running back, is showing that you have the trust in him to give him the ball. Maybe have him do some extra things on the practice field so he's not in that situation where he can be better. We've seen some weird things in the NFL. Him having this many fumbles this early on the season is kind of a shocker, I think, to everybody. But I think he's one of those guys. He's a pro. He'll get it figured out and bounce back. But not using him, I think, is probably one of the stupidest things Baltimore could do, because that's when you're putting your quarterback more at risk, not having the trust in Derrick Henry there.
Well, let me tell you one thing before I turn over to you, Eddie. I worked with a guy by the name of Don Shula back in the 80s when I was a young pup. You fumble around Shula, your career is going to be short-lived with golf, and Don Shula will have no part of it. Don Shula, I'll tell you, he's told me many times, fumbling the football, you're not going to last. He's told that to me and a bunch of other guys back in the day. You aren't going to last in his group, and I'll leave it at that. Eddie?
I think I have to agree with Steven. It's until this year, Henry's never been known to be a fumbler of the ball. You can't. You have to you have to use him. You have to show that you haven't lost confidence in him.
Right.
And to me, that fumble against Detroit, I don't think I could really blame him. It got punched out by, I think it was Hutchinson. That was it. I think anybody would have had fumbled the ball at that moment with the way that Hutchinson just got a good punch on that ball to knock it out.
Well, think about it. What you're saying is right. Okay, number one, Hutchinson did knock out. He did it, I think, against Flacco the other day. Now Lamar Jackson got hurt, so everything you're saying, Eddie, validates itself. Continue on.
To me, Derrick Henry has earned the benefit of the doubt until proven otherwise.
Okay, that's fair enough. Yep. Good numbers in high school and NFL. I do think that right now is Cooper Rush is your quarterback, depending on the nature of his injury. I'd be, if I were John Harbaugh, I'd best be using Henry a little bit more, because you're headed down a road that you don't want to be bothered with. So, all right. And Steve, we've talked about the trials and tribulations of Henry. Let's talk about C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who's out for the season with an ACL issue. He rehabbed it. Obviously, he's rehabbed it. Ultimately got cut anyways. Steven, you've been on this guy for a while. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, go ahead.
Basically, after 3 games, I don't think it had anything to do with his earlier injuries in camp. He talked himself out of another locker room. It's point blank and period. He was upset with his role with the team. He wanted to be able to go after the quarterback back more. Getting caught in smack talking, during the game with the Buccaneers, getting Baker Mayfield all riled up, and then to even boot, he's in the locker room, counting other people's bags, so to speak, talking about money and contracts and things of that nature. So he, it only took 3 games before D'Amico Ryans said, I had enough of that. We're just going to eat this money to get this guy out of here. And, obviously the Texans haven't had a great start to the season. Winning cures all things, but apparently not that down there in Houston. So he's a free agent. I don't foresee him coming back here. I know a lot of fans have been saying that we should bring him back. There's no reason for that. There's a reason why he was here twice and traded away. So I don't think the third time's the charm here in Philadelphia. I do think he's going to wind up somewhere on a winning team that wants to get better in the back end as we get towards the middle of the year or so. So we'll see where he lands, but he is a lot of times with me. I mean, me and Ben talk about this. Sometimes there's things that you should definitely get off your chest and be yourself. But these are one of these times where I think being yourself has been CJ's worst enemy. And sometimes you should just keep some of those opinions in between your ears instead of letting everyone know. Airing people's money, either blessings or failures is another thing in the locker room you just don't do. So,
Eddie?
I was wondering why he got traded twice by the Eagles. I can probably understand why now.
He was
I
one of.
think it's
If you
gonna
think about it, Eddie, when he was here, he had 2 different seasons with 6 interceptions. So I think he has like the second most interceptions by a defensive back over the last 3 seasons. His problems are in coverage. He gets burnt, and he likes to talk a lot, both on social media, in the locker room. When you're supposed to be like one of those guys who's like the heartbeat of the team, you can't have that both sides of the coin type of thing. You have to be the leader.
Right.
You have to hold yourself accountable. You have to know when you can have these comments both to your openly to your teammates, and especially when you're not doing your job all the way, and then doing it the way he's been doing has been his worst enemy. So we'll see where he lands up. Thinking about it, I wouldn't be surprised if he wound up in someplace like San Francisco.
How about the Steelers? They could use a little help there.
Well, they
defensive
just went and got Minka Fitzpatrick this offseason. So
No,
I mean,
no,
obviously he would have the familiarity with playing with Slay there, and they just brought in Jalen Ramsey as well via trade. So I think San Francisco would be, because they've taken some hits on the back end of their defense, and with what we were just talking about with Joey Bosa going out, that's why I say somewhere like San Francisco, someone who wants to contend for playoff contention, and they need help. They need a spark plug on defense with having Bosa out. So why not a guy like that?
So, Steven, did they bring back Minka Fitzpatrick? I thought it was the Dolphins. I thought that Ramsey was traded to the Dolphins for Minka Fitzpatrick. Clarify, is there an update that got that?
No, yeah, you're right. You're right. They did trade Minka back down to Miami.
All right, I wasn't sure. Okay, that's okay. No big deal. I wasn't sure. You never know what's going to happen with Miami, anyways. So I don't know. I just wasn't sure. I know that.
But you got to think about it with having Jalen Ramsey. You got Darius Slay. You still have Joey Porter Jr. there. Obviously, I don't think he dressed last week, so he's kind of down there. You have a good back end,
right?
They have TJ Watt up front. They have Cam on the defensive line with him,
right?
So it's I think they have a good defense. I don't know, adding CJ Gardner-Johnson helps them tremendously, but we'll see where he ends up. Go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, but I think they lost one of their safeties. Deshaun Elliott, I think's his name. He got hurt, so they could use some safety help.
Yeah, I think we have to understand is that I believe C.J. Gardner-Johnson played for the Lions one year, was injury plagued, and then he ended up leaving, went back to Philadelphia, and now he's a free agent. We'll leave it at that. Close it out on that. Now, one baseball topic to get to. The Phillies announced that they've reinstated infielder Edmundo Sosa from the 10-day injured list to make room for him on the 28-man roster. Infielder Donovan Walton was designated for assignment. We know that we'll talk more about baseball 108 such as baseball talk afterwards. And we'll give more Philly updates next week. A lot of things I want to get to today. So, Stephen, they added Edmundo Souza, what are your thoughts about that pickup?
I mean, calling him up was a big thing. He's the first Phillies shortstop to hit 3 home runs in a game this season. So
Right.
he's been a spark plug to our bench, our rotation. When we have guys going down, we just got Trey Turner back off the injured list. He wound up winning the batting title in the National League this year. He looked a lot better than he has last year, so it should be a fun October coming up with I think the only serious injury that the Phillies are dealing with right now is the fact that their ace is going to be not with them for this playoff run. But I think they made some good trades that in the end. I think a guy like Armando is going to be good for them, especially in October. We'll see if he stays on for that playoff roster.
Exactly. Eddie?
It's a move that's going to help them with their depth. He's a very good shortstop. So I think it's a move that's it's going to help them in the playoffs.
Okay, great stuff. By the way, next week, Monday night, looking forward to bringing the Argentine Gringo back here on the program. And the Argentine Gringo and I had a lot of fun. He's a Philly guy, so we'll bring him on. And Eddie Prather is going to have an open invitation to come on the show. Another thing I want to mention before we go to Stephen's agenda and then Candy wrapping up is I have a guy by the name of J.J. Metz who will be joining the network. What's interesting about J.J. Metz, he's 14 years of age and he started in the business when he was 10. If there's a kid who's a whiz on this network and represents everything the South Florida Tribune Media Network represents, he will be a part of our network, breaking him in slow. We'll catch up with him at FAU and you'll see him. And there's a chance we could see him on the Profession of People at some point. Our target start update for him is on Wednesday night on the Sports Exchange. Should be an interesting pickup there. So, all right, Stephen, quickly give us an idea what's on your agenda, and then Candy's going to take us home to the final station break.
Nothing special this week. Obviously, we're getting ready for October time, and Phillies baseball should be an absolute crazy week. This here in Philly with playoff baseball getting started. Flyers are getting started. I think Saturday alone there's going to be 3 events in South Philadelphia between Flyers preseason hockey, Temple Owls playing football, and I think it's game 2 of the divisional series should be the 4th. So it's going to be a fun week here. Obviously, on the network wise, obviously, I'll be back here, tomorrow for Inside the Pigskin as always.
Right.
Me, Marvin, and Ben will be breaking down stuff and having fun Wednesday morning for the fan in the end. So it's continually growing here, continually doing our thing. We're about 250K views away from 1 million for the YouTube channel here. So getting closer to that first giveaway. Obviously, million views and 2K subscribers are our next two big milestone points. So we're going to continue doing that. We're going to continue having the fun content, great interviews that we're doing here. Other than that, it's the same old. Make sure you're locked in, like, subscribe, share to all your friends.
And also don't hesitate to comment on the YouTube videos. We put a lot of work into them. We didn't have anything with Miami this past week because the games were off, but we ended up, we're going to have some in. We're going to put tomorrow night's just a little preview on Inside the Pigskin. We're going to be mentioning the Florida Atlantic Owls. Had some great, couple of good interviews we're going to share out there as well. So if you're an Owls fan and you're subscribers, then feel free to tune in tomorrow. We're going to give the show, obviously, the program some publicity. And I have a lot of interesting facts that will intrigue you with them. My special shout out to Katrina McCormack, who obviously is the lady I've worked with since 2007. Whatever I need there, she's really cooperative and helped me get a lot accomplished as well. So FAU Wells will be on. We'll have a couple of good sound bites there as well as a lot of other updates as well. All right, Eddie, let everybody know how they get a hold of you. Eddie, just so you know, after tonight will be a contributor on Monday night. He's earned a spot. to come on Professor and the People. I love his insights and his demeanor in terms of all the information that he provides. Glad he's going to be at least once a week, and we'll see where he fits in along the line. But this is a good show for all of us. All right, Eddie, let everybody know they get a hold of you and what shows you appear on.
Probably the best way to reach me is on Facebook, Eddie Prather. So I do not do X or any of that other stuff.
Okay, you build your identity with your intelligence. That's something wrong with that. All right, with that said, we'll bring Katie in for one more station break. And just so you know, after this show, we have 108 Stitches Baseball Talk, and boy, that's going to be a loaded show. That show is always loaded. That's why we had to come up with another baseball show on Saturday called Talking Baseball. The common denominator, Mickey Callaway, former Mets manager, and I are tag team partners on both of those shows. You get Mickey on Monday, then you get him on Saturday. All right, Katie, take over.
South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book. Let me put it up there. It's not going up for some reason. Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. Talks about his 40-plus years in the media industry and how it has evolved. Old school media versus new school media. Get your copy today. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there is a plethora of great content, so go check it out. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcast. If you see that red subscribe button in that lower right-hand corner, that means you have not yet subscribed to us. What are you waiting for? Do it now. Click it, like it, share us with all your friends and family, and then hit that notifications button so you're always notified when we go live. If you want to advertise or sponsor a show, you can always call Scott, 954-304-4941. And if you want to be a guest or have topic ideas, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Back to you, Scott.
All right, Candy, thank you very much. Candy Emily will be on 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. Have a good crew lined up. So, Eddie, can't say enough about you. Great first act. Second act was even better. And the more reps you get with this group here, you're going to get better. But I enjoy seeing you in the chat room. And now I enjoy having the opportunity to work with you. Stephen and I have been talking about all along. Stephen and I do have a lot of conversations about what we want to do together with the network. And I do want to point out something that's really important. And this is something that really is important. I have Alzheimer's disease. I'm on the onset. I am grooming Stephen Reichel to be my heir apparent. And he has done an absolutely fantastic job. Now, Stephen will tell you, why don't we put this Alzheimer's thing on pause for a while and stay active? But this guy that's wearing that Phillies hat is my heir apparent and my successor. So when you look at this man, you look at him and you take him seriously. Stephen Reichel, I've had a lot of great additions over the years. But let me tell you something. I say this because I've been around a lot of people. As the guy I'm counting on to keep the legacy of the South Florida Tribune Media Network going. I'm confident when I had that vacation early in the year, he did a really pretty good job. But now the more reps he gets, he's going to get even better. I'm so proud of what Stephen's done and his family supporting him, and they're supporting the background, allowing him a couple of weeks. And what he's done during the day with this group that he has, I'm proud of you, Stephen. I want everybody to know it. But I have no plan on backing down. Right now, Stephen is absorbing everything I'm doing. And Eddie, having you on tonight reaffirms what our instincts were, that Stephen and I felt you were ready to come on at least once a week. And my goal is to get you in the ultimate rotation. We'll bring other people in and have 4 people on if necessary. So, Stephen, I'm proud of you. I want the whole world to know about it. And I am really, really proud of you, Stephen. Keep up the work with what you do on social media with it. You're awesome on X, but you're fantastic on the air, and you take a lot of pressure off me throughout the whole thing. So I just want you to know, Stephen, you are very big time appreciated. Your family, and that's pretty much what I have to say.
Appreciate the love, brother. Let's wrap this thing up, man.
Well, that's okay. I always have a lot to say. If anybody saw the Talking Baseball show on Saturday, I blew a gasket on the air and Mickey Callaway my co-host on there was laughing so hard. It was so hilarious. It was so fun to watch. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back to Saturday's Talking Baseball with Jose R. Melendez, and you'll know what I'm talking about. Eddie, great job tonight. And we'll be, in fact, you know what? We'll probably bring you on next Monday night with the Argentine Gringo. We're gonna bring Eddie. What do you think? Are you available to come on Monday nights, Eddie?
Yeah. Hey Scott, my thoughts and prayers with you going through your health, and you could not find a better person to mentor than Steven.
Steven's fantastic. I'm proud of this guy. I found him on X, and all of a sudden, I knew that his energy from the get go was fantastic. So I kept sharing it, and then he wore on me in such a way that this guy coming over to my side, and as long as it works out, I don't have to say anything. He's on here twice a week.
I'm like a mole. You just watch me grow and get used to me. I'm here. I ain't going nowhere.
I'm not worried about you, man. I got news for you. I have plenty of more things up my bag of tricks to get you involved. We're just breaking you in easy. So this guy's he absorbs everything, and I'm proud of you. And I'm telling you what, Prather, I'm glad that you're going to be on this show Monday nights, man, because you're going to add something. You're going to be on with the Argentine Gringo. Boy, I'll tell you, you're going to get a first-hand look of how creative I can be. And wait till you guys check out my new up-and-comer JJ Metz. This kid's pretty good, too. Don't want to hype him up. I don't have to, but I have a feeling. And Steven, just you watch this JJ Metz, pal. This kid's my latest project, but he's going to be a good one. So on that, but that said, okay, I have to save a little bit of voice for 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. So on behalf of Steven Wright Show, Eddie Prather, my name is Scott Morgan, Motor City Man. Thank you for joining us. And Katie Eblake does an awesome job as our producer. Have a great night. We'll see you on Professional People next Monday night. The Argentine Gringo is scheduled to be on. And we should have him on. Not worry about it. Otherwise, it'll be the three of us. So plenty to go. But I like to be the old gunslinger in this business, and I enjoy every last bit of it. So, like I said, we're done for the night. And you'll see me in a few minutes. Take care, everybody. Have a good night.